Welcome to the Special Needs Kids Are People Too podcast with Amy Bodkin, EDS. Amy is an autistic adult who also happens to be a school psychologist turned special needs consultant and public speaker. She's also a homeschooling mom to 2 autistic kiddos, a yoga instructor, a card-carrying Trekkie, and an all-around fun person. And last but not least, Amy is an advocate for seeing every child as a person, not a diagnosis. Because a special needs kid is just like any other child, just more so. Here's Amy Bodkin.
I'm Amy Bodkin, and welcome to another special episode of Special Needs Kids Are People Too. And today I have with me a special guest, special to me anyways. It's Anthony. Anthony, how do you say your last name? It never occurred to me to ask you that.
Okay, it's Cofield.
That's how I was going to pronounce it. That almost never happens.
Well, it was I took my wife's surname when we got married, completely oblivious to the conflict that it may cause in my father's side of the family. I was like, hey, it's Shakespeare, rose by any other name doth smell so sweet. And our tradition is to take the father's first name as the eldest male's middle name. And so I kept my middle name because to me, that was the family tradition and my roots, not the last name. Like, that's just, everybody does that. And Missy's father had actually changed the spelling of their surname when her elder brother was at school, because it was spelled C-O-C-K Field and pronounced Cofield, but the phallus planes that is brought to mind by the spelling could make school a little bit difficult for children. And so they just changed the spelling. And so Missy just wanted to keep the spelling since they were the only ones with that. And I didn't care. So I took that. So yeah, Cofield.
I love that. It's a great little story. So Anthony is the creator and owner of a company called Living Book Press. And you basically republish old treasures.
Yeah,
right?
that's basically. I am in Australia, as you may have been able to tell from the accent. And when I first started out using Charlotte Mason, there's a few people that have Australianized a few of the options, and the books were unavailable. I was searching for 3 years, and one popped up at $350 odd. And that was an entire week's of my income at that time. And I was like, there's no way we can do this. And so I just tried to get the rights so I could republish and make it easier. One of the barriers to entry for using great books was their expense and availability. And so just as my way of contributing to the community, I decided to try and republish, and knew nothing at all and taught myself everything as I went, just for kind of something to do. And then people kept asking for more things, and I saw people getting frustrated at other things not being available, and just kept going.
That's awesome. Well, we have loved it because we've ordered several books that you've republished. Ones that I was very excited about because I had tracked down the original and managed to find a decent deal, but they just weren't holding together.
Oh, no.
Yeah. So I've really enjoyed those.
I'm glad. I'm just glad I can help out, because I know that I couldn't use a Living Books education without the people who've made book lists and put things together that, sure, I might tweak them, but at least I'm not starting from that white blank page trying to put something together. So I so appreciate what others have done, and it's just my part to help out.
Well, and also you're contributing to basically the storytelling process, because somebody created that book and told a beautiful story that, obviously touched quite a few lives when so many people want a copy of that book and it's no longer available. And so then you're kind of participating in that process by making it available to a new generation.
I love that. It's so nice to work with small families who have had the rights passed down to the grandchildren. And I mean, some of them, I might sell 10 copies a year of their grandfather's book, because it's just a niche Australian thing focused on an Australian animal. And they're just so thrilled that their grandfather's books are getting out there into the world and being able to make ebooks. Like, oh, Grandpa loved new technology. He would have been so excited to see it being able to reach people. Or look at that, that's being sold in America. He would have just been tickled pink seeing that Americans were getting to learn about our stuff. It's just really lovely to be a part of helping them share that storytelling legacy that their grandparents had, and they get so excited seeing that it's still affecting people.
Well, and that's interesting because you're saying that you have the opportunity basically to participate not only in storytelling by bringing old stories forward, but also by spreading it further than it would have reached before. So older Australian books that we would have never gotten in the United States. I can now, my kids loved The Little Grammar People. We read that one.
Yes.
I know that one has to be Australian. It has
Yes.
to be. Okay.
Yep.
But they loved that story and they thought it was great fun.
I'm ashamed to say I learn a lot from that book every time I have to do it with my kids too, because grammar was so my weak point, and grammar is something you often understand so intuitively in your root language that you can't see the point in learning it until you start to, I've been trying to learn Spanish. And once you start realizing that I have to understand about perfect and imperfect and past, present, future, and what they actually mean, you suddenly understand the importance of grammar and knowing how it works. So when I go back and read Little Grammar People, like, oh, now I can understand that better to implement as I see the point. It's great.
Yeah, I did not learn grammar intuitively either. I don't think autistic people in general learn grammar intuitively. I had to learn it more mathematically. Like they were teaching it. I'm like, oh, okay, it's a formula. There's your subject, there's your verb, there's your adjective, and identify all of the pieces. And if there's any pieces left, then you put it together wrong.
That's right. Yeah.
Like a puzzle. So
it's so funny. I play guitar, and I had learnt the scales and stuff, mathematics. And then in class one day I was in maths, so I had the grid book, and I drew a guitar neck and I traced out every single note I could use in the E scale. And then I made templates of the major bar chord and the minor bar chord and moved them up. And suddenly I could understand the mathematical relationship between the chord shapes and the fretboard. Okay, so the scale goes major, minor, minor, major, major, minor, sharp, 7, 5, 5, 9. And it just all clicked. And suddenly I could then play all over the place, because again, it's just breaking it down to the maths.
Yeah, no, it's true. And it's that relationship that you form with different things. That reminds me of I think it's Donald Duck in Math Magic Land or something. One of my clients had mentioned it to me, and I watched it with the kids, and it was talking about music and how it's mathematical. And it's just funny because so many times we think that, oh, this little subject belongs in this little box. But when you broaden the world to include stories, it broadens it to where it includes more than just the little box.
And that's what makes stories to me so important. I grew up a white male as a doctor's son. And so there is certain things in life and assumptions you make because of how life has treated you when you're like that, for better or worse. And I think I was fortunate that my grandfather was a missionary in Africa and New Guinea and Vanuatu and all around the world. So I would hear his stories, but also I would get to go with Dad to conferences around the world and get to see that my world is different to many other people's worlds. And then as I would read stories, it would remind me of that as well, because I can experience life walking in the shoes of someone else. And to me, that is, I could travel the world, I could travel history, and I could do so much and actually relate to things through storytelling. And it's made me such a better person for the fiction that I have read that has revealed far greater truths than I could have experienced reading fact.
Yeah. And sometimes it's the fiction that really opens things up for us, not the fact or the nonfiction even, but the fictional components, the story aspect. It also opens up your ability to experience things that you might not notice when experiencing it in real life. Like I can go to England, for instance.
That's right.
But I might experience it differently than if I'm reading a book about somebody in England and hearing their perspective and their feelings, and it's going to open up different things.
Absolutely. Well, I mean, even in your local neighborhood, you go down to the community center and you will talk to people who have grown up near you with many of the same cultural experiences, but their story is so different to your own just because a few little parts of it are different. So, I mean, going to England is going to be different for everyone because we take so much with us wherever we go. And I think we don't often acknowledge or even realize that. So by reading stories, we can just understand that people are different even, and that's okay. They've got a reason for thinking differently, and that's not threatening. It's just different.
Well, and that would not actually work in my neighborhood because we live in a strong military community. And so
yes.
my immediate neighbors, it's like being part of a mini UN because like the one
that's my cultural assumptions as well, because I haven't assumed that. So it's wonderful to
most people wouldn't know that. It's the most bizarre thing though. Like my neighbor across the road's from the Philippines, the ones diagonal are from England, the ones next door are from Egypt and Lebanon. There's Native Americans on the other side. So Panama back behind that way.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah. So it's interesting though, because even though our area is much more diverse than most people would expect for being in rural United States, it still gives you different experiences, like you were saying, that you take with you. I was talking to Amber O'Neill Johnston. Have you ran into?
I love Amber. She suggested some books that I've done, and I'm still trying to do more diverse books because I feel that's important for myself. But she wrote an introduction for Gladiola Garden, which is a beautiful collection of poems from an African-American experience.
I love Amber. So I was talking with her the other day, and I'd been reading her book, A Place to Belong, and we were, it was talking about the things you expose your children to and how they can be mirrors and windows. And I had this huge epiphany. I had always loved Alvin Ailey. He was an African-American ballet. He owned his own ballet company, and he created this one ballet called Revelations. And I always loved it. And she's like, well, I guess that one's kind of like a window for you. And I'm like, no, wait, it's not. It's a mirror. Because how often do I get to go to see the ballet and see a Southern United States perspective reflected in a ballet? It doesn't happen often.
That's it. And did that feel great to see some of your experience reflected?
Yeah, it was so neat. It felt so home.
And that's what's amazing. Like I'm a Marvel nerd. I love Daredevil as my favorite, but I see so much people getting upset online at African American protagonists and female Muslim protagonists for Ms. Marvel, and like even the Asian experience for Shang-Chi. And yeah, they're superhero movies, but I mean, you as a white woman, and it was so excited to see some of your experience reflected in something. And we have our experience reflected far more often in most media. So it just gives us a little understanding of the power of storytelling for other groups that get to see it even less.
Well, and you're talking about superhero stories and also mythology, because those kind of go together with Marvel. Absolutely. And those are stories that get told and retold and reinvented every single generation. Yeah. I was thinking about Rick Riordan's mythology series, because
my son loves them. He's so excited for the Disney Plus series that'll be out soon.
I know. My kids have loved them too. And I think the thing is that it's a way of retelling these stories in a way that captivates them. Will they be around in 200-300 years? I'm not so sure, because there's a lot of colloquialisms in there, Yeah. And I don't know that will necessarily withstand the test of time, but it's gotten a ton of kids super excited about mythology. So no matter how long the books keep being reprinted, of course, Living Book Press could always reprint them. Nobody else appreciated colloquialisms.
Oh, that's great. My son keeps asking when if the things are in public domain, he's sort of gotten an understanding of things now. He's like, can you republish this for me, or can you republish that for me? Or it's fantastic.
Are you homeschooling a student, or want to be homeschooling a student who learns a little different from the average student? I'd highly recommend checking out a Charlotte Mason Plenary. A Charlotte Mason Plenary is a homeschool company focused on the philosophy of Charlotte Mason. Charlotte Mason was an educational philosopher in the late 1800s, early 1900s, who recognized the importance of not just educating a child body and mind, but also educating them as a whole person with a diet rich in the humanities, the studies of what makes us better human beings. It is not enough to know everything. You also have to know how to use that knowledge in a way that contributes positively to the world. A Charlotte Mason Plenary has all sorts of resources for helping you do Charlotte Mason your way. We also have form guides over there that allow you to plan a customized curriculum in 3 easy steps. And I even partnered with the Charlotte Mason Plenary to create a developmental form guide that goes with these guides, that explains to you where to place your child and how to make all sorts of adaptations for different types of learners. Go check it out at cmplenary.com.
So we were talking about Marvel and superheroes and Greek mythology, or any kind of mythology for that matter, and the diversity that you're getting to see brought forward with each generation that tells the story in a different way. And then sometimes people get upset because you're like, but I liked the first way better. But that's the thing with ancient mythology, there was no original because we don't have an original.
Well, I was reading a whole collection of like crime and thriller authors saying their favorite books, like what I think is the best one in the genre ever written. And one of them was talking about Plutarch's Pythias and whoever. So, it's just been retold countless times in different thrillers, but it's still great. It's that there's the core truth, whether if that's the right word, in these stories is what makes them be able to retold, whether that's a truth that is emotional we can relate to and reveals something about our human natures. I think that's what draws us to them and keeps us coming back for what's essentially the same, comforting, and then we can still learn a bit more about something else. There's sort of that wonderful combination.
Yeah, I think that's what drew me to storytelling, like in the very beginning. Like if I had to identify my special interest would be mythology, psychology, philosophy, theology, all of those ologies that involve like the human experience.
Basically just wrestling with ideas.
Yeah, that's what I always loved that in any form. And I think that's kind of what made me love stories. And it's really more stories than books. It's stories.
Absolutely. In any form. I don't listen to a lot of music just because it often annoys me, or if I can't stand jazz because it's inconsistent. They throw in things that don't work and don't fit, and I like the rules.
You would have
I enjoy
difficult time with American music.
Oh, no. SoCal pop punk, my thing, man. Power chord, just up and down, Blink 182. That's my stuff.
So have you ever read a book called Blues People?
I have not.
It's really good. And it basically talks about, well, it ends up being the history of American music, but it starts with African American history, because that's why American music became the way it did.
That is the core and the root of where it all came from.
Yeah, which is also why it's kind of messy sometimes too, because there's a lot of improv and rhythm, but then changing the sound.
And I love the idea and the concept and the freedom and the talent that comes with that. And I think if I was sitting down and just enjoying it, it would be fine. But when I'm doing other things and it's just on, my brain is expecting that pattern, and I get jarred out of what I'm doing. I think when something, it's like, oh, that's interesting, that's different, that's not according to the formula I was expecting, and I'm pulled out. But one thing I do love about music is the story songs. And there was American Harry Chapin, who wrote Cats in the Cradle. But he's got so many amazing songs. There's one where he's a taxi driver and he picks up sort of the girl that got away. And just as he's driving and wondering, do I sort of let her know that I recognize her? And then she recognizes him, and just that awkward taxi ride, then she gets out. Or there's another which breaks my heart every time, but I still listen to it every few months, called Mr. Tanner, about a dry cleaner who sings as he's doing all the clothes, and the whole town just loves his voice and tells him that you should be a professional. But and the sort of the precursor thing is, but music was his life. It was not his livelihood, and it made him feel so happy, and it made him feel so good. And he sang from his heart, and he sang from his soul. He did not know how well he sang. It just made him whole. And it's just beautiful. But then he goes and he puts all of his money into doing like a Broadway preview, and all the critics come and they're like, yeah, he's okay, but nothing special. And they destroy it. And he stops singing, except for really late at night when nobody's around. And then he feels safe to sing again. And I can't even put my finger on what exactly it is, but I think I can relate to that fear of putting my dreams out there for the sake that they get taken away.
Wow.
And I just feel, and that's why I love listening to those stories, because I can, whether it's in music or anything else, I think I can face my demons as well.
Mm-hmm.
Ricky Gervais is terribly sacrilegious and inappropriate at times and all that kind of thing. But he had a Netflix show where he's playing a character whose wife has just died, and she was the love of his life. And he's basically just given up and wants to commit suicide, but his dog can't open the dog food by himself. And so he has to stick around to look after his dog. And he's getting to play his awful, snarky self, because he's like, well, why bother being nice to people? You're not going to fire me from my job because, well, I was your brother-in-law and you're a nice person. So you'll give me a warning and I'll ignore you and I'll just keep doing what I do. And so there's no point in being nice. But it's just his journey of trying to deal with loss and grief. And I couldn't stop devouring it, because I think it was my biggest fear is something happening to my wife. And
Right.
I could sort of process the what if of those emotions through this other journey. And I've realized that that's what I do a lot with the stories I tell, is I process and almost prepare myself, do a dry run for if something was to happen.
Yeah.
In any different area of life, it just sort of, there's so much you can do with the story. They're amazing.
It's so true. And I think that it's especially important, like from a more neurodiverse perspective, because like when I was younger, people would go, well, what do you do with the feelings that you have? I'm like, well, it's like there's a colored jigsaw puzzle and we just like store these feelings in different parts. And they're like, all right, you're supposed to let them pass through you. If you hang on to all of them, that's going to be a really heavy load to carry. And I'm like, how do you let them pass through you? I don't know. And I think it's that sometimes our feelings get stuck and need some help getting them unstuck.
Absolutely. I grew up as the doctor's son and the influential sort of family in the church, and there are certain expectations of how you will act and behave. And I think with neurodiversity as well, I am only just starting to learn to even pay attention to what it is that I'm feeling or I want, because people would ask and I would give the right answer.
Yes.
And I think I have done that for so long. It's really difficult now to start teaching myself to look at the real answer and even to acknowledge it to myself. So I've never really felt anything at all except for and just said what I meant to feel. And I think stories was the only place that I could do that, because it wasn't me, so it was safe. I wasn't risking anything there. And I think that's why I'm enjoying these sorts of shows now, because it's allowing me to sort of start to get in touch with feelings and learn how to acknowledge them and process them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And also you get to, like, it's like you don't notice them. And then so the stories not only allow you the safe space to experience different feelings, but it also, I think, helps bring awareness to different types of feelings, because it puts words to, and also helps you go, oh, that might be how I'm actually feeling in this other context. And I didn't do it before. Like I couldn't make a connection. So,
absolutely.
And it does seem like a lot of times the distraction of life
can
sometimes make it harder to be able to notice those things. But I wonder if maybe it's with a story you have an opportunity to kind of slow life down.
The last 2 years, I think in the big picture, when my wife and I look back on our life, will be two of the best years of our lives, because the fact that we were all forced to slow down and to stop gave us the space to start acknowledging and looking at the various traumas and who we are and why we do the things that we do. And we've had the space to process that and start to build a better foundation moving forward for how to do things. So while it's been terribly difficult with COVID and all the turmoil thrown there, I think for our personal lives in the big picture, we will very much value this time and what it has allowed.
Yeah, I got super excited when we were told to stay home. Of course, in Florida, it only lasted about 3 months, but I was like, yes, I don't have to people.
Exactly. I felt bad because we were just sort of saying, oh man, life's getting too busy again. I could really do with another lockdown. And then like 2 weeks later, they locked down Australia for ages again.
No.
But I mean, my two middle children, my youngest and my middle are both immune compromised. The pediatrician and the immunologist are just amazed that they haven't been in and out of hospital their whole lives. And so we're having to give them injections. Fortunately, you can do it at home now. They don't have to go to hospital every week for a day, but just to try and get their immune system up. So even though the country's open, it's out there and spreading, and we're still sort of living our best lives here in isolation, which is how I would live all my life if I could.
We had kind of like our own personal lockdown for a little while there, long before COVID. I actually had masks before COVID was a thing, because we used to wear them because I was so sensitive to like different scents that I would land on the couch for days after being around somebody else who had some kind of very like natural smell or something.
Yeah.
So yeah. But it was nice though too, and that was a slowdown point too. And I love the slowdown points. I wonder if maybe the stories that we write down and the stories we tell, maybe it feels like they're slower, and maybe it feels like it's slower compared to watching it on a screen.
Maybe. I hate not to follow on from what you're saying, but what you were saying there, it just made me think of something about how I think maybe we can learn a lot about ourselves from the stories that we are drawn to. If you're drawn to these 1800 slow period of life, blah, blah, maybe it is that your body is telling you your life is too quick and you are longing for this slower simplicity of life. And that might be the thing that is resonating for you within these stories. So we can probably learn a lot about ourselves from the storytelling that attracts us.
That's an interesting idea. My youngest loves funny stories, which honestly, I've never been drawn to funny stories. I got bathroom humor, like that one I totally am down with. I've got that easy. I'm learning about puns now. I'm getting better at them. Sarcasm, I often have to ask my husband, I'm like, was that sarcastic or not? Because I'm not sure.
I get sarcasm, subtext I'm completely lost on. Your words and your actions are not lining up, and I cannot place it. But I think I get enough mathematical cues from sarcasm and the incongruence that I can usually pick it.
You're able to make those work. But it's funny though, he kept wanting all these funny books, and I just kept trying to toss him different books that I thought were really good that he'd like, and he didn't like any of them. And I eventually figured out that he really appreciates things that are funny. And when I started looking and trying to find, funny books, I was like, oh, there's tons of funny books. I've just never been drawn to them.
That's it. Exactly.
Which is probably why I'm not very good with sarcasm or other forms of humor.
Do you find that you're drawn to different styles of storytelling in different genres? Like not genres, different formats. So I love lots of podcasts, and I would never read a book even slightly similar to them. And I have no interest in watching the TV series if they make one of the podcast. Like just no interest. I will watch movies and have no interest in reading the book of a similar style of thing. It's weird, my compartmentalization of what I enjoy in different formats.
I have noticed that. And I've actually made a very interesting connection with some of the families that I work with too. So I've noticed that a lot of times moms tend to have, well, at least maybe it's because I'm a mom, but I hear a lot of strongly held opinions from other moms with regards to video games, family movie night, books, all those kinds of things. And so I've discovered that a lot of times when moms like video games, usually they aren't as big of a fan of family movie night. And usually the families that really like family movie night really don't love video games. But what I've discovered is that most of the time when you see like parents doing that, it's their own preferences coming out. So I personally love doing video games with my kids. I don't like watching a lot of movies. I don't watch a lot of movies because the sound bothers me. And it took me a long time. And also I get so like sucked into it that like it's happening to me. So when it's something that's really scary, then I start having a panic attack.
Yeah.
But video games, I love doing that with the kids. We had a private family, no, we still have a private family server, and we'll sit and play together, but there's no sound.
Minecraft,
yes.
So, that's really, I don't play a lot of video games. I used to love video games, but the video games I loved were very story based. Very like
Final Fantasy.
And so even if they were like first person type things, there's a company, Remedy Entertainment, that have great long, but they're very storytelling. I struggle with Minecraft. Like, we've got our own family server thing as well, and my boys love it. We have issues with obsessiveness at times, and so I jump on and I play with the boys, but I think I don't get play. I really struggle with play and the aimlessness of it. I get quite lost, and then I get stressed and overwhelmed because there is not a sandbox of defined parameters for what to do. And so then I'm like, well, I'm just wasting my time. There is no point. And so I'm the one who's going, okay, we want to build a mob spawner. And so I just go, okay, cool. I'll get you 20 stacks of stone, and I'll just have a wonderful time mining for 1,000 blocks in one direction. Or I'll just decide, okay, I'm going to dig a 16 by 16 hole to bedrock. I'm going to go to the top of this mountain and just dig down. And I create my own purpose, but I really struggle. I need the storytelling even in the games that I play, unless it's Mario Kart or something, and I'm just sitting back having some fun. Of course. Yeah, no, we run into the same kinds of interesting discoveries while playing. For instance, everyone says that mom's buildings are incredibly boring because I am so insistent that everything like be repetitive that I tend to use all cobblestone or all dorite or whatever it is. But it's while I've said that I don't personally enjoy it that much, I love that my middle son is amazingly artistic. The things that he creates in Minecraft just blow my mind. I couldn't even start to see. I appreciate form. But for me, function, well, if it works and it doesn't make any difference making it pretty, why would I bother spending extra time making it pretty? And so then my oldest son loves redstone and working out how he can build contraptions out of redstone. So I'm like, okay, Dex, I've built the wall to keep us all safe. I need you to make me some switches and gates and somewhere that'll be automatically capturing the stuff from the farm you told me to do. And he will do a great job of building these incredible redstone things. And then my youngest does so well with other aspects of the game. And I think the openness allows them all to be who they are within that and nurture the areas that they love. And now I'm starting to do electronics with my oldest, and my youngest, my middle one who loves the design thing, we're starting to do other things as well. So I'm noticing what draws them within Minecraft and able to implement that outside.
Yeah.
But I miss the storytelling.
It leaves room for storytelling. You just have to make it yourself. And so when you don't have someone making it for you, then either that can be really exciting or it can be really overwhelming. Like, okay, now what do I do?
That's it. And I think every time I start to make story, though, when you've got 3 boys playing with you, it's like herding cats. And it never lasts long enough. So like, I can't be bothered anymore. You just do your thing. I'll do what I'm told.
Absolutely, like herding cats. And I've noticed with the families that really gravitate more towards movies, a lot of time, or at least the moms anyways, a lot of times it's that they are more overwhelmed by visual stimulation than sound. And the ones who like the video games are less overwhelmed by the visual, but they're more overwhelmed by the sound. And so it seems like that's kind of the divergent that I see.
Can I ask even the next step there? Do you feel that maybe a lot of the ones who enjoy the movie night more are just more overwhelmed in general, and it asks nothing of you? All you're doing is sitting back. The hardest part of it is negotiating with everybody who has to watch what you're going to watch. And you can just sit back, hit play, and tune out. There's nothing more. Whereas playing a game it requires a lot more. That's why I'm loving watching the Marvel movies with the boys, because they're experiencing all these tropes that I'm so familiar with, but they're loving it and they're clapping and they're getting into it. Oh, did you see that? Or watching Ms. Marvel, they're like, there was the moving bro, the tracksuit bro's movable truck was in the background there. Look, it's a little Easter egg. It's so much fun them doing that together. It gets noisy, but there's nothing expected. You can choose to give that or not. You can just sit back when you've got nothing left. Whereas playing a game, whether it's computer or physical, it requires more of you.
Well, and maybe visual overwhelm is more overloading than sound overload, because you can shut sound off.
Yeah.
I mean, you can like put on noise canceling headphones, put in earplugs, and that definitely. Yes, yeah. Exactly. We have so many pairs of those at our house. It's not even funny.
Yes, we have earmuffs that we keep in the car for the boys.
So I don't know, maybe it's harder to be able to block the visual, and so it creates more of a overload in general.
And I think sometimes when you're homeschooling, you're just overwhelmed. There is no break. There is no escape. There is no respite. Even the most average, capable, incredible person, I mean, sometimes you're feeling that you've got no support network. You're failing at absolutely everything. The dishes are piled up. Mount Washmore is sitting in the corner waiting to be folded. The kids are screaming at each other. They still haven't put the guinea pigs out, and it's 5:00 at night. And, it is overwhelming for anybody.
Yes, it is.
And sometimes you just have nothing left, which is another reason, though, that I love stories. When I am like that, if I've got my lot planned out of what I'm going to do for the term or whatever, I can just lie back and say, this is the story I'm reading today. This is where it is in the book, and nothing more is required from me. Like, I can skip the more difficult subjects. They can catch up on the things that require more of me. But through story, I can lie back on the bed. Even if I'm unable to get out of bed, I can just say it's in the top crate of the cart. Bring me those books. Yeah. And they can bring me their stories, and we can lie together and have wonderful bonding time sharing a story. And they are learning. I cannot feel like I'm such a failure and letting them down in their education and life and whatever else. And it teaches so much more than necessarily just the lesson that I'm using the book for. That you can use story. Yeah, exactly. As long as you know what you're going to be reading, it requires nothing more of you. So when you are low energy homeschooling or just trying to maintain yourself, you don't necessarily have to drop every ball in your homeschooling. You can still keep many of them going.
That's actually well, it's not the only reason. There's a lot of reasons that I really like Charlotte Mason's philosophy. I mean, the whole children are born persons, children are people. We should treat them with the respect that we treat other people. That's kind of shocking. Shouldn't be shocking, but
we need to be respecting each other first, which is kind of sometimes what we need to work on.
We're back to square one. We're working on the adults.
Yeah, that's it. We're all just broken children inside, working on ourselves. I tell my children, if I mess them up less than I was messed up, or at least in different ways that I got messed up, then I will feel that I have succeeded because I've at least learned and tried to do better.
Exactly. I think you're exactly right. That's the goal. It's to like.
We're going to mess our children up. That's just like it's inevitable.
Therapy. They're supposed to need therapy when they grow up, but hopefully we haven't passed as much of our baggage onto them because we dealt with ours, so they can have new baggage.
That's what I said to my therapist. As long as my son is having a different conversation in 30 years with his therapist, I'm happy. I'll be upset if it's the same conversation I'm having with you.
I am totally with you. And I think that you're exactly right, that a lot of times we do that through stories,
That's it.
Yeah,
That's
because it doesn't take as much energy from us. So when we don't have the energy to do it, we can still share stories. And it also gives them so much more
That's
than,
it.
what they were getting. And that's one of the reasons why I really like Charlotte Mason homeschooling, especially from an autistic perspective, because you have moments where you're going through autistic burnout and just overload. And being able to just pick the next book up off the shelf or hand them the MP3 player with the audiobook on it or whatever you're going to do and be like, I'm done. I did it. I checked my box.
Dexter, you will get an email. It's going to have a few of the books I want you to read. You know when to stop. Just
That's right.
Record your narration, send it to me, and when I'm able to, I will have a listen. You couldn't do that. Am I saying that's ideal? No, but nothing we do in life is ideal in every area, and we are just doing the best that we can and having grace on ourselves when
exactly.
we can't.
We are not going for ideal here.
No, that's it.
No. If it was ideal, then I would have somebody to do the dishes and the laundry and all those other things.
I think that's something we forget. Charlotte Mason was single and had no children, and she could sit there and read through Walter Scott's entire collection every year, as well as everything else. And a lot of the families that they were doing it for, the teacher was coming in. It wasn't the mother doing it. Her sole responsibility was taking the kids outside for a few hours each day and helping them see this stuff. She wasn't doing that while juggling the washing and the housework and the everything else. So you need to have grace on yourself if you can't do it all. And remember, people post this stuff on social media half the time because they're trying to get business out of it and show that they've got it together so you can learn from them. Or else they are so blown away that for once the stars aligned and their day went well and things looked so great that they are just wanting you to celebrate that with them. And that is not every day. They are celebrating because it is the unicorn day. So don't feel that pressure if you're not having a unicorn year.
That is so true. Oh my goodness. Yes. And it does not look like a unicorn day around here very often. Usually something has happened each day. It's the way life is. And it's the life that you make in all the mess that's really what your life is. And
isn't that one of the most important lessons we are teaching our kids, that spanners will come into the works and you just need to roll with that, have some grace on yourself, look at what you could do differently to avoid it and put that in place if possible. And then pick up, dust yourself off, keep going. And I think that lesson that we teach our kids just of things will happen, do what you can to prevent it happening again, learn from it, move on, keep on trying. That is a more valuable lesson for our kids than anything we would read them or teach them or whatever else, because that will help them no matter what they're doing in life.
Ooh, that's an interesting thought. So some of the stories that we tell are not the ones that we tell actively, that we put in a book, that we put on a screen, that we put in a video game. They are the stories that we lived.
I would even say most.
Yes, I agree.
Well, maybe not in quantity, but there's that little bit all the time, and I think they are the strongest stories that we tell because they're the ones we are teaching our children implicitly. They are just doing it because that is what is done and how it's measured. So I remember my mother-in-law had a friend, and she would always cut the end off the lamb chop, like the leg of lamb, before putting it in the oven. And finally it was just driving the mother-in-law mad because they lived together when they were at uni. And she's like, "Why do you do that?" And she said, I don't know. I'll ask Mum. And she asked her mum the next time they talked. She said, "Well, when you were a kid, we had a tiny oven and I couldn't fit the whole thing in." And so the lesson that she had just observed, which was from function, she thought it was just what you had to do. And I think there's so many lessons that we learn that way from the stories we are taught subconsciously through our culture, through our families, through whatever else. And because we never actually acknowledge them, they can have consequences, either positive or negative, for how we live our lives and what we do with our kids. And so I think acknowledging the storytelling that we're telling and trying to notice the stories that we're telling underneath, even if that's just from, my middle son is autistic, but he started apologizing soon just after asking a question and stuff lately. And so from that, we can see that the story we have been telling him is that we are busy, or he's feeling like he's imposing or a hassle when he's asking stuff. And so we can, because we are acknowledging it, even if that's not what we're wanting to say or meaning to say, that's the story he's getting told. Yeah. And it doesn't matter what our intentions are. It doesn't matter at all, because that is the story he's hearing. And so we need to do something to change that story.
Yeah. And sometimes it's easier to change the story than to try and change the way it's being perceived, because how are you supposed to perceive it differently than how you perceive it?
That's it. That's how he's perceiving it. It doesn't matter. Nothing else matters except for us acknowledging that and telling it differently. I mean, I'm married. There is so much. My wife and I did the marriage counseling from the church beforehand. They get you to do the personality tests and the different sectors and everything. We got 30% compatibility for conflict resolution and communication. I mean, our family styles are very different. My wife is ADHD, I'm ASD, and those are not a compatible combination a lot, because my scientific, you said today you were hoping to get this done. It didn't get this done. What can I do to help you? Is heard as, you're a failure. You were going to get this done and you haven't. So you must suck and be the worst person at doing everything in life. Not the story I'm telling, not what I'm meaning, not what I think, but that's the story that has been heard. And finally, and she wasn't even realizing that was what she was really getting. And there would be so many conflicts. And I'm like, I'm confused. I don't understand. That's not what I'm saying. That's not what I think. How did you get this? But then after 20 years, that creates the stories that we have told each other, create soft spots and baggage and trauma that even now, so we're having to form a whole new paradigm of the stories that we tell to each other and how we relate, and just saying, the past is making me feel this way right now. Is this what you're meaning? Okay, can we work together on finding different ways to phrase this, or just come back when I'm not feeling so raw, because I am not going to be able to do this properly at the moment. And just acknowledging and bringing those things out so that we can start to tell each other stories that are getting the story we're wanting to tell across.
And what's really twisted is when you're talking about the stories that you tell within your own head, because like your wife's ADHD and you're ASD. Well, I'm both.
So am I. I'll just simplify the story. I took my drug earlier while I was talking to you. I don't know if you noticed.
So I feel like there's these conversations going on in the different parts of my head, and it's like, all right, somebody slow down.
That's it. Yeah. I do feel though that my obsessiveness combined with my jumping between things and varying obsessiveness is my superpower.
Yes.
It is I am not made for the world that I am in. And that's what I tell my boys who are on the spectrum. I'm like, listen, guys, I would rather not be on meds. I would rather be able to function as it is, but I have dropped the ball a lot as a dad and have been living in this perpetual state of tension and like I've come back from war. You guys come into my study and I feel like I am being physically attacked because it is so hard for me to focus and get into this, and then I'm pulled out of it and it's going to take me hours to get in again. And I've been a really bad dad at times because I'm dealing with that. So that's why I'm having some meds, because it allows me to do better in what I feel is more important.
Exactly.
But I would like for them to be able to build their world in a way that works with how they are built and who they are. Mm-hmm. And they may not be able to do that and may do things, but at least we can help them try and push and help guide them in ways that work to their skills and their abilities rather than trying to make them fit with everybody else.
Well, I guess that's one of the exciting things that we see coming about right now in the world of storytelling is that we're seeing a lot more diversity happening. And so it's giving opportunities for those of us who see the world differently and who live differently and feel like sometimes we're on some kind of an alien planet where it's like, what's wrong with the rest of you? Because this is not how I do things.
That's it. Exactly.
Yeah.
And the flip side of that is that people can read stories from our point of view, and even if they don't understand it, they can accept that, okay, this is how people feel. How confusing must that be? Or this is so different to how I see things. And I'm interacting with these people all the time. At least now I'll be a bit more aware that if they react to something I've said in a certain way, or if that kid is having a meltdown in the shopping center, whatever else, the parent just doesn't just need to give them a smack and pull them into line. No, that kid could well just be super overwhelmed by the bright lights, the music, the amount of people, the different tactile things as they're moving through stuff, and they just cannot handle it. And so suddenly I think other people's points of view, they may not understand, but they can have a bit more grace and acceptance for the stories that others are living.
Yeah, and I think that's an excellent point to leave people with. So if you're listening to this podcast and you have a unique story, maybe you should try writing a book so that we can
absolutely share. I think the more wealth of stories that we can experience told from different, not absolutely cultures and stuff, but within the world of neurodiversity and just seeing things differently, the better off we all are. Because we can understand each other better and we can share and we can just hear each other. I think sometimes I don't need to be understood. All I ever want is just to be heard. And so I'm like, you know what, that's exactly. Thank you for sharing that. I don't get it, but I accept that that's how you're feeling. And, we can each try to show each other a bit more grace in our interactions now because we understand that we don't quite mesh with how we perceive things. And that's okay.
Well,
you're not bad. I'm not bad.
If they're looking for a publisher, they can know where to find you.
I would love to do more. I've always, because of how my company started, I've been in the supply business, not in the selling business. I hate selling. I can look at somebody else's things and help them sell it great and do landing pages and all that kind of thing. I feel so dirty. I just loathe it. When we had a music shop, people would come in and they'd say, I've got $1,000 to spend on a guitar pack for my 8-year-old. And I can see they're trying to live their dream through their kid. The kid is not interested. Mm-hmm. They're going to be wasting their money. And I could not just say thank you. I just didn't take the money. I couldn't, because the kid's not going to get any more out of that $1,000 thing than he is out of a $200 guitar pack, and is no more likely to play it or enjoy it. I would much rather sell him something that's decent quality, so there's not that barrier to him doing it, and not waste the parents' money when I can see that they were pushing it to do that, but they were just wanting to live their dream through their kid. So I cannot sell to people if I don't think it's going to fit a need. So that's why with my books, I put as many pictures as I can in it, and I'll rearrange the schedule to fit the Ambleside online schedule. If it's like a collection of fairy tales, there's nothing to lose by rearranging it. But if it saves you half an hour a term from having to go through and put the bookmarks in it and do it, across 100 families, that's 50 hours a term. I'm saving that you can do something else. You can have a cup of coffee and just breathe. And so that's why I'll put like little pictures at the end of paragraphs if you're breaking it up throughout the chapter, because, well, it takes me as much time to do that as I would have to for my son, but I've done it once. And everybody who uses that book now is not having to have that headache of split it. So it's just little things to make it easier, and then adding as many pictures as I can, because my middle son he's a genius in so many levels, but when we did all of his testing, he got a 70 on verbal comprehension. Like, he is borderline retarded with that area. Mm-hmm. And so when, I was so excited for him to turn 6, and there's a few subjects I'd be able to combine with him and my oldest. And 2 days, I knew this was not going to work. It was going to be a dismal failure, and all of my plans were thrown out the window, because he just could not follow. We'd be reading, I mean, it wasn't Harry Potter, but just for example,
Yeah.
we were near the end of the book, and he's like, "Who's Harry? What? Who's?" I'm like, "You poor kid. You have been lying here the whole time, and you've had no idea what's going on. Absolutely none, because you just have not been able to build that base foundation of this character is this strong. You have not understood it." And so I put as many pictures in everything, and we just went back to picture books for him for a lot longer, because the story is the tool. The curriculum, like using whatever it is, look at the why you're doing every single part and work backwards from there. Both because if life gets busy, you know what you can discard because the kids already grasp the concept. And so if you're having to thin down, you can cull the things that they already get rather than examine. But also because if the why for reading a certain book is, say, to expose them to, nature or about how things work, you may be able to jump on some of the amazing forums online and say, what's a great picture book that will do this? And sure, maybe it won't give them the depth of what they would have got if they'd understood the other book. But
they understood.
They are not going to understand that other option. They do not have the capability of making those connections. So let's go back to a basic picture book and at least give them a foundation with all these other stimuli that they can use to anchor onto, and slowly build their skills in narrating and telling back and doing whatever else, so that it can accomplish the goal that we were after.
And as C.S. Lewis said, that any book worth reading at 10 should be worth reading at 50.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So Anthony, tell our listeners where they can find you if they want to check out the kinds of books you offer. I love all the little details that you do when you're doing these books. Like, you put a lot of detailed effort into this. So tell us where we can find you.
Okay, livingbookpress.com is my website, and you can sign up for my newsletter. I'm on a farm here in Australia, so I try to just, if you've got kids and stuff, share little bits about the animals. We've got lambs and kids, and just got a cow that's about to calf, so we can start making cheeses and stuff. So I try to share bits of that you may find interesting. So I got videos of the lambs and kids being born that I showed, if you want to see placenta and all that fun stuff. So I do that each month in my email letter, if I remember, probably about 4 times a year, but there's a goal. And then all my social media and stuff is also linked from there. But it's just facebook.com/livingbookpress and instagram.com/livingbookpress.
Awesome. Well, I really appreciate you joining me today, and join us next time for another episode of Special Needs Kids Are People Too.
We hope you had fun listening to today's episode and gained some new insights into the wonderful variety of people in our world. You can find out more about Amy's advocacy work at amybodkin.com. And remember, special needs kids are people too.